This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Vietnam. Hello, Charlene.
Hello, Alma. Hello, I'm Charlene Navaja, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines, Cambodian police arrested a casino workers' union leader and two of her colleagues as hundreds of workers protested against layoffs at a gambling hotspot run by a Hong Kong-listed firm.
Myanmar has all the ingredients for civil war. Cambodia, chair of Southeast Asia's regional bloc, has warned ahead of a visit by Prime Minister Hun Sen to the crisis-racked country.
Hong Kong announced strict new anti-coronavirus controls on Wednesday, banning flights from 8 nations, including the Philippines.
And the city government of Manila has offered booster shots for workers in Divisoria and delivery riders passing by the city.
First in our news, Cambodian police arrested a casino workers' union leader and two of her colleagues Tuesday as hundreds of workers protested against layoffs at the hotspot run by a Hong Kong-listed firm. Take a look. Chim Sitar, the leader of the workers' union at Naga Corp's Limited's casino and hotel complex in Phnom Penh, was dragged into a car by plainclothes police as she arrived at a protest, according to AFP journalists at the scene. Hundreds of workers were demanding the reinstatement of 365 employees laid off last year during the COVID-19 pandemic. Two other unionists from her group were also arrested on Tuesday afternoon, according to rights activists. Earlier, Phnom Penh Deputy Police Chief Ban So Seka had said the trio were on the wanted on incitement charges because the workers' strike, which began last month, was illegal. The arrest came after a Phnom Penh court on Monday jailed 6 people over incitement charges in connection with the same casino strike. Police also confirmed they were questioning 17 other casino workers arrested on Monday. Those striking told AFP they had not been compensated properly and would continue their action until their demands are met. A group of 119 rights organizations called on the authorities to immediately release the workers, saying their strike was peaceful. Naga Corp, which has the exclusive license to operate in Phnom Penh until 2065, could not be reached immediately for comment. Cambodia, one of Southeast Asia's poorest countries, has a complex relationship with casinos. While it has casinos, its own citizens are officially barred from playing in them.
The arrest and detention of casino union leaders and activists in Cambodia may amount to a breach of human rights law, United Nations rights experts said Wednesday. Hundreds of workers have been protesting against layoffs at Phnom Penh gambling hotspot run by a Hong Kong-listed firm. They were demanding the reinstatement of 365 employees laid off last year during the COVID-19 pandemic. Chim Sitar, the leader of Workers' Union at Nagacorp Ltd's casino and hotel complex, was dragged into a car by plainclothes police as she arrived at a protest on Tuesday. AFP journalists at the scene said the experts include the special reporters on human rights in Cambodia, on freedom of expression, freedom of peaceful assembly, and the situation of human rights defenders. The experts said 9 arrests took place on December 31st, with another 17 on Monday and 3 on Tuesday. The pattern and manner of these arrests appears to be an escalation in tactics used in previous cases that have occurred in Cambodia over recent years and resulted in the wrongful imprisonment of human rights defenders, the experts said. The latest charges and arrests are particular concern as the country gears up for commune elections this year, followed by national elections the year after. This sends a chilling message to Cambodia, people on their space to assemble freely, are official barred from playing in them.
In other news, Myanmar has all the ingredients for civil war. Cambodia, chair of Southeast Asia's regional bloc, has warned ahead of a visit by Prime Minister Hun Sen to the crisis-racked country. Take a look. Myanmar has been in chaos since a coup last year, with more than 1,400 people killed in a crackdown on dissent by security forces, according to a local monitoring group. Hun Sen, whose country this year holds the rotating chairmanship of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN bloc, will visit Myanmar on Friday and Saturday in an effort to defuse the crisis. But Cambodian Foreign Minister Prak Sokhonn warned the outlook was dire. The political and security crisis in Myanmar is deepening and has led to an economic, health, and humanitarian crisis, he said. We feel that all the ingredients for civil war are now on the table. There are now 2 governments, there are several armed forces, and people are undergoing what they call the civil disobedience movement, and there is guerrilla warfare around the country, he also said. He was speaking at a lecture Monday organized by Singapore-based think tank, the EAS Yusof Ishak Institute. The event was held under the Chatham House rule, which means the speaker must give permission before his comments are reported to facilitate candor. Cambodia's foreign ministry on Tuesday gave permission for AFP to report these comments.
The Army Artillery Regiment, or AAR, will get a much-needed boost with the recent delivery of 12 units of SOLCOM 155mm over 52 caliber self-propelled howitzers from Israeli firm Elbit System. The weapons that arrived in the country last December 28 are now scheduled for technical inspection this month prior to formal acceptance of the AAR. Philippine Army spokesperson Colonel Xerxes Trinidad said Thursday. The 12 units are already delivered to the AAR and scheduled for technical inspection by the TIAC, or the Technical Inspection Acceptance Committee, within this month prior to its formal acceptance. Once inspected in accordance with the specifications and accepted by the committee, training of personnel will be required, then deployment of the new asset of the Army. As of now, the Army still waits for the formal acceptance of the new assets, he added in a message to the Philippine news agency. Trinidad also said the 12 self-propelled howitzers were acquired to provide the AAR with mobility with firepower. It was acquired under a government-to-government setup under Horizon 2 of the Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program and is worth 2.4 billion pesos. He added that the weapons will augment the existing 155mm towed howitzers being operated by the AAR.
In other news, Japan's ambassador to Indonesia has called on Jakarta to end its recent ban on coal exports, which he said has had a serious impact on the world's third biggest economy. Indonesia exports around three-quarters of its coal output, with the biggest markets including Asian economic powerhouses, China, Japan, South Korea, and India. But on January 1, it banned shipments of the fossil fuel, saying it was to avoid outages after coal producers failed to set aside 25% of output for the domestic market, as they were obliged to. Now, that sent global prices of coal higher as the Northern Hemisphere's winter demand for energy peaks. The sudden export ban has a serious impact on Japan's economic activities as well as people's daily life, according to Kanasugi Kenji, writing in a letter Tuesday to Indonesia's Energy and Mineral Resources Minister Arifin Tasrif, which was confirmed Wednesday by the embassy. Japan imports around 2 million tons of coal a month from Indonesia, according to the letter, adding that the grade of coal purchased by Japanese companies was higher than burned by Indonesia's power stations. Japan was not therefore a factor behind Indonesia's coal shortages, he said. He added, I therefore wish to request for the immediate removal of bans on coal export to Japan, the letter read. There were few alternative sources to which Japan could turn, the letter said, urging a rapid end of the ban in order to continue and maintain the cordial economic relationship between the two countries. The Indonesian government had said it would review the ban on Wednesday, but a planned meeting with representatives from the coal industry did not take place and no reason was given for the delay. Indonesia requires coal producers to set aside 25% of output for the domestic market, but caps the price at which it buys the fuel at $70 a metric ton, far below global prices. And since the ban, between 7.5 million tons and 13.9 million tons of coal had been diverted to domestic demand, according to the state power monopoly and media reports.
And back to the Philippines, well, it will have more assets for humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, or HADR, missions as initial funding for the acquisition of 32 additional Polish-made S-70I Black Hawk combat utility helicopters were released on December 27. We are delighted with the release of the SARO, or Special Allotment Release Order. We really need more helicopters, primarily for HADR missions. Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana told the Philippine News Agency on Tuesday night when asked to comment on the initial budget release for the acquisitions of the aircraft. The S-70I units of the Philippine Air Force are currently hard at work transporting relief supplies and rescue personnel to areas battered by Typhoon Odette last month. They have also been utilized to transport coronavirus disease 2019 vaccines in geographically isolated areas in the country. The Department of Budget and Management on December 27 released a SARO to the Defense Department amounting to 1.6 billion pesos to cover the initial funding requirement for the additional utility helicopters acquisition project of the Philippine Air Force under the revised Armed Forces of the Philippines Modernization Program.
And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. Charlene and I will be back right after this.
May mga lamang sa atin ang mga kababaihan.
Aalis ka na talaga?
Pinagpalit mo ko kasi gwapo yun.
Sige, ingat ka.
Ang babae raw pag umiyak, nasasaktan na. Ang lalaki umiiyak, guilty.
Sabagay.
Medyo nakarami yung babae doon ah.
Sige, pigilan nyo na yung karereto ng kung sino-sino sa akin.
Isusuot ko na to para masimulan na natin ang Say What?
Kaya pa ba? Ako parang hindi na eh.
Funniest Nakaball Videos.
Welcome back. Thailand reimposed mandatory coronavirus quarantine measures for foreign tourists, nixing a quarantine-free travel scheme as the kingdom seeks to stifle the spread of the Omicron variant. But the government announced last December the so-called test and go scheme will be suspended for at least 2 weeks. And now they have extended that indefinitely due to the rising number of COVID cases due to Omicron. Let's listen in.
One of those is, of course, about the opening up of pubs and bars. We'll have to monitor the situation in that regard. Another important thing is, of course, the suspension of the test and go, as you may have learned from the news. Now, definitely, there will be a continuation of the suspension of the test and go, meaning a continuation of the quarantine for people entering the country. Definitely, there will be that extension, but as we speak now, the meeting is talking about the date in which that suspension will be lifted. The meeting discussed current global situation. Daily number of cases reported worldwide has significantly increased to over 1.9 million cases, confirmed cases today, with Omicron variant being found worldwide. And the overall situation in Asia, the Asian continent, remains stable, with Thailand ranked as number 25 in the world for the number of cases. And regarding the Phuket Sandbox scheme, hotels are preparing to propose hotel isolation measures for asymptomatic guests to help dealing with the lack of sufficient bed capacity in the province of Phuket, and preparing for the infection of new variant in concerns while continuing the operation of tourism business in the Sandbox area. The related authorities have been assessing in the best way possible to address the public health measures to balance both health security and normalizing economic activities. So, of course, this affects businesses, it affects travelers. We are aware of that. And if you recall, at the end of 2019, at the beginning of 2020, this virus hit us with surprise. But if 2020 was a year that something hit us with surprise, and 2021 was a year that we continued with our struggle, with our strict measures, our discipline. We hope that the year 2022 will shine a new light. We hope that this year we will be able to tackle and rid COVID-19 once and for all. Of course, Omicron is the dominant variant in many countries, but hoping that we will be able to contain it in the same way that hoping that we will be able to contain all variants, actually, be it Delta, be it Alpha, be it Omicron, or what may be. So hoping for the best in the year 2022 ahead.
Jen? Meanwhile, the Omicron variant has lived up to its reputation in Thailand, spreading across the country at lightning speed and going from 205 cases on December 24 to over 2,000 at the time of writing. The number of provinces where the variant has been reported has jumped from 33 to 54.
According to the Bangkok Post, the Public Health Ministry has raised the nation's COVID-19 alert level from 3 to 4 following a rapid increase in Omicron variant infections. Here's Esther Odangao live from Thailand. Esther.
Hi, Charlene. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all our viewers. That's right. Thailand's COVID-19 alert is now at level 4 due to the increase of Omicron variant cases, which started from New Year holidays. The country logged 5,775 cases in the past 24 hours, just from 3,730 yesterday. Imposition of this alert level 4 means closure of high-risk venues to reduce interprovincial and daily commutes, as well as promoting work-from-home setups and gatherings are now discouraged. People are expected to follow tighter measures if it falls to the highest alert level, which is the level 5. If that happens, stricter measures will be implemented, such as closures of different venues, imposition of curfew, quarantine requirement for international arrivals, and a ban on gatherings of 5 or more people. According to Dr. Kiatibum, the Public Health Permanent Secretary, he is urging the people who travel to other provinces to do self-monitoring for at least 14 days and encouraging to work from home. In addition to this, for having a positive ATK or antigen test, it is a must-to-contact hotline 1330 of the National Health Security Office or other health office to prevent rapid spread of Omicron variant. Back to you, Charlene.
Thank you so much for your updates, Esther. Please do keep safe out there.
Stay safe also, Charlene, reporting live from Thailand. This is Esther Adanga. We live in interesting times.
Meanwhile, back here in the country, the government is fast-tracking the delivery of the minimized microgram Pfizer BioNTech coronavirus vaccines for children aged 5 to 11 years old, according to the National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer, Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. Speaking at President Duterte's pre-recorded talk to the nation or talk to the people, Galvez said he will be talking to Philippine Ambassador to the U.S., Jose Babe Romualdez, to discuss the fast-tracking of the particular Pfizer doses for the kids to start giving them the protection against the disease. Let's listen in.
Nagkakaroon na rin po tayo ng parallel efforts sa ating mga region at saka mga LGU to vaccinate the unvaccinated, aggressively administer boosters, and further expand our target population. And ipupursu po natin ang vaccination ng children from 5 to 11 years old when the especially forward, tinatawag nating formulated vaccine will arrive. Mag-uusap po kami ni Ambassador Babes, Mr. President, para po mapadali po ang pag-deliver ng Pfizer. Bukas po ng 9 o'clock, mag-uusap po kami para po ma-deliver na po na mas maaga yung especially formulated po na minimized na microgram ng Pfizer para po sa ating 5 to 11 years old na vaccinate po.
And in a related news, the National Task Force Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said the Philippines is relatively slow in administering booster shots against the coronavirus disease 2019. In his report to the President Rodrigo Duterte during the talk to the people on Tuesday night, Galvez also noted that 2.5 million senior citizens have yet to receive their primary shots. Let's take a look.
57 million po dito ang first dose at more or less 50 million people with second dose. Ang lang po, we are still relatively slow sa ating mga pag-booster at at the same time, kailangan po natin hanapin at i-vaccinate ang 2.5 million na unvaccinated seniors. But we are here good to report that ang vaccination po natin sa mga minors, particularly yung 12 to 17, 8 million na po ang nakakuha ng first dose at 5.7 million ang nakakuha po ng second dose.
He said the government is pushing for a much aggressive vaccination program amid reports that there is already a local spread of the highly transmissible Omicron COVID-19 variant in the country. There is a need to strengthen the to prevent, the detect, and isolate treatment and reintegration strategy. Vaccine czar said the government is currently establishing a sustainable way on how to efficiently manage the day-to-day administration of vaccines delivered. The Philippines has so far received 210,633,110 COVID-19 vaccines, both procured and donated as of December 2021.
Staying in the country, Laguna will be placed under a higher alert level from January 7 to January 15 following a sharp increase in COVID cases, according to Malacanang, announcing this Wednesday night. The Interagency Task Force approved tonight, January 5, the recommendation of its sub-technical working group on data analytics to escalate Laguna to alert level 3 due to the rising number of COVID-19 cases in the province, according to acting presidential spokesperson and Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles in a statement. On December 31 last year, the IATF raised the alert level in Metro Manila to alert level 3 until the 15th of this month. The IATF on January 4 announced that the provinces of Bulacan, Cavite, and Rizal will join Metro Manila as areas under Alert Level 3 until the 15th. Under Alert Level 3, a 30% indoor venue capacity and 50% outdoor venue capacity will be allowed for some activities, provided employees are fully vaccinated. However, face-to-face or in-person classes for basic education, contact sports, except those conducted under the bubble-type setup, fun fairs, carnivals, and kid amusement industries, venues with live voice or wind instrument performers and audiences, casinos, horse racing, cockfighting, and operation of cockpits, betting shops and other gaming establishments, and gatherings in residences with individuals not belonging to the same household will be prohibited. On Wednesday, the DOH recorded 10,775 new cases, the highest single daily tally since October 10 last year.
And in Hong Kong, where they announced strict new anti-coronavirus controls on Wednesday, banning flights from 8 nations, shuttering bars and gyms, and canceling evening restaurant dining after the Omicron variant was detected within the city. Let's watch this.
亦都禁止曾經逗留過喺呢8個國家嘅人士去登上任何民航嘅客機嚟香港，即係話轉機嘅人呢都唔得㗎啦。如果佢喺呢個地方轉機嚟香港，但之前佢係喺呢個地方咧就唔得啦嚇。如果佢去呢8個地方以外嘅一個地方搭飛機嚟香港，但其實喺一段時間之前咧，佢喺呢個地方咧都係唔嚟得㗎啦。咁啊係一個做到更加嚴格㗎啦。咁呢8個嘅地方咧就係澳洲、加拿大、法國、印度、巴基斯坦、菲律賓、英國同埋美國。
The restrictions are the latest economic blow to an international business hub pursuing a zero-COVID strategy that has kept cases low but left residents cut off from the rest of the world. Like mainland China, Hong Kong has maintained some of the world's harshest measures throughout the pandemic, including virtually closed borders, weeks-long quarantines, targeted lockdowns, and mass testing. The city has recorded 114 Omicron cases as of Tuesday evening, with a vast majority identified at the airport or during the 21-day hotel quarantine that is mandatory for most arrivals. But a small community outbreak traced to Cathay Pacific Airlines staff in recent days has sparked the imposition of tough new measures.
In a related news, Chief Executive Carrie Lam also said health officials now fear the contagious variant was silently spreading within the community. Again, let's listen in.
Latest public health advice given to me about these cases, which they might be related to an imported case, but the root or the channel of transmission is not entirely clear. The advice given to me by my colleagues in the public health arena is we are facing a very dire situation of a major community outbreak anytime. And that's why we have to take very decisive measures. 咁喺某程度上可以講咧，係同 Omicron 呢個變異病毒株嘅傳播喺度競賽，即係睇下邊個行得快啲咧，就可以撳到呢個Omicron 咧，唔好喺香港咧嚟到去傳播。
And back to the Philippines now, where President Rodrigo Duterte on Tuesday said those who refuse to get vaccinated against COVID-19 should just stay home or risk getting jailed and arrested. Let's watch this.
Yung hindi magpabakuna at nalaman ng mga barangay captain, sabihin na lang nila, huwag kang lumabas. At kung malabas ka, you'll be escorted. If you force the issue, I said, because the barangay captain is a person in authority, he can place you under arrest and dalhin ka sa istasyon. Doon ka sa mabaho na hindi ang istasyon, hindi masyado maganda ang hygiene ng yung jail. Doon na yung mga tao kasi umiihi, doon na rin dumi-dumi. May mga istasyon na walang maniwala kayo. Kaya doon kayo ilagay ng you will be arrested. And at least I think the fiscal can hasten the proceedings by preliminary investigation na kaagad. At pagkatapos na kung i-file yan, you go straight to jail.
The Metro Manila mayors agreed to pass local ordinances that will restrict the movement and activities of unvaccinated people amid a steep increase of infections in the region. The NCR was placed under Alert Level 3 from January 3rd to 15. Under Alert Level 3, Abalos said unvaccinated individuals must remain in their residences at all times, except during the procurement of essential goods and services. The NCR mayors have likewise decided to prohibit the unvaccinated people in indoor and outdoor dining areas, leisure or social trips to malls, hotels, events venues, sports and country clubs, and similar establishments. Unvaccinated people are also restricted from domestic travel via public transportation, except for essential reasons like buying goods and services.
Meanwhile, the Antara News reports that the Jakarta Metropolitan Police are targeting to vaccinate 2.2 million children against COVID-19 with a 2-week vaccination program in Jakarta, Depok, Tangerang, and Bekasi. We target 2.2 million children in the jurisdiction of Jakarta Metropolitan Police to get vaccinated during the period of 14 days. That according to Chief of the Public Relations Division of Jakarta Metropolitan Police Senior Commissioner Endra Zulpan on Wednesday. The Vaksinasi Merdeka program will target children aged 6 to 11 years old, he added. Jakarta has launched 100% face-to-face learning since Monday after 2 years of online schooling due to the pandemic, he noted. He said the vaccination program is also aimed at protecting students from the threat of the Omicron variant of COVID-19.
And ASEAN in Focus, we'll be right back.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Ang inyong pinakabagong gag show.
Dito sa Net25.
Walang iba kundi ang
DIVISORIA!
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus. The budget carrier AirAsia Philippines on Wednesday said its domestic operations will continue despite a resolution approved by the Metro Manila Development Authority or MMDA limiting the mobility of unvaccinated individuals. Under its Resolution 2022-01 Series of 2022, the MMDA urged local government units in the National Capital Region to issue ordinances barring the unvaccinated and minors from going outside except for essential activities. AirAsia said it will continue ferrying fully vaccinated travelers as well as unvaccinated essential travelers. They said in compliance with the resolution signed by the Metro Manila mayors, we will continue to fly eligible vaccinated individuals and unvaccinated guests with essential travel passes only. AirAsia's Philippines spokesperson Steve Dailisan said in a statement. He added that the airline remains optimistic of continued strong demand for air travel among vaccinated individuals. Among the carrier's mitigation efforts as having all its flight and ground crews fully vaccinated, he said. And on Tuesday, Cebu Pacific canceled a number of domestic flights from January 4 to 10. Both Cebu Pacific and AirAsia on Wednesday said passengers may avail of flexibility options should they wish to postpone their travel. Those who have Cebu domestic flights from January 5 to 15 may still postpone their flights up to 2 hours before the supposed scheduled flight. They can rebook for travel within 60 days or store the booking value to a travel fund valid for 2 years. Cebu Pacific also urged passengers to manage their bookings online as its ticket office in Naiya Terminal 3 will be closed until further notice. AirAsia's passengers, on the other hand, may also manage their bookings online subject to fare difference.
In other news, markets fell in Asia today following a painful sell-off in New York, fueled by bets that the Federal Reserve will embark on an aggressive campaign to fight soaring inflation by hiking interest rates several times. The much-anticipated release of minutes from the U.S. Central Bank's December policy meeting showed that while officials were concerned about the fast-spreading Omicron coronavirus variant, they were confident the world's top economy was in rude health and able to absorb high borrowing costs. The Federal Open Market Committee has already started winding back the vast bond-buying stimulus put in place increase at the start of the pandemic as price rises remain stubbornly high, with the program due to end in March. Traders had widely expected the bank to then start lifting rates. On Wall Street, the Nasdaq plunged more than 3%, while the Dow and S&P 500, which both started the week with new records, lost more than 1%. And Asia tracked the selling. Tokyo led losses, falling more than 2%, while Sydney was off more than 1%. Hong Kong, Shanghai, Seoul, Wellington, Taipei, Manila, and Jakarta were also well down.
Power restoration in the province of Bohol remains limited almost 3 weeks after the onslaught of Typhoon Odette in the Visayas and Mindanao. In a briefing Wednesday, Department of Energy Director Mario Marasigan said the available capacity of power generation facilities servicing Bohol is at 47% or only at 28 megawatts. Of the 3 transmission lines that were affected in the provinces, only 1 line was restored. He said despite having an available power and transmission line restored to deliver electricity, restoration of distribution utilities is still low. DUS deliver electricity to households, establishments, and other power consumers.
Meanwhile, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez, said manufacturers of paracetamol and flu medicines have recommended not to put the cap on the purchase of these drugs amid tight supplies, particularly in Metro Manila and some provinces. He said the manufacturer suggested yesterday that there is no need to put a cap because they can supply, and the drugstores would be able to put their quantity limits when they detect an unnecessary bulk purchase, according to Lopez texting this to reporters. He said they have called on pharmaceutical firms and drugstores to speed up the replenishment of paracetamol and other flu medicines, noting that the tight supply situation was mainly due to the timing of deliveries. He said there's no shortage of paracetamol and other flu drugs. He also said pharmaceutical firm Unilab assured DTI that it would expedite deliveries this week amid the increase in demand for these medicines.
To further intensify its coronavirus disease 2019 vaccination program, the city government of Manila has offered booster shots for workers in Divisoria and delivery riders passing by the city. In a press conference on Wednesday, Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Domagosa said the booster shot night vaccination for Divisoria workers will be held from 8 p.m. onwards on January 5th. Let's watch this.
Para sa ating mga nagdadala ng pagkain sa Metro Manila na ibinabagsak sa Divisoria pagkagabi. Sa lahat ng nanonood sa Northern Luzon, Central Luzon, Southern Luzon at Metro Manila na dumadako sa Maynila para i-deliver yung mga gulay, karne, itlog, isda at iba pang produktong pagkain na ibinabagsak sa Divisoria gabi-gabi. Kung dati-rati kayo ay binakunahan namin, yun yung mga driver, pahinante o tindera ng bakuna. Ngayon po ay iaalay namin ang oras, resources ng ating lungsod na bakunahan kayo for booster ngayong gabi sa Divisoria, sa kanto ng Wanluna at Recto. So, ihanda po ninyo ang inyong mga sarili. Grab the opportunity to get booster in Manila. Magsisimula ng alas 8 ng gabi. Minabuti namin na magbakuna sa lugar na kung saan kayo naghahanap buhay para hindi na maabala, masayang ang araw ninyo sa pagkita dahil sa hirap ng buhay ngayon, alam kong napakahalaga ng inyong hanap buhay.
The night vaccination will be dedicated for truck drivers, porters, shippers, vegetable and meat vendors, and other workers in Divisoria. The inoculation site will be held at Juan Luna Street, corner Recto Street. Meanwhile, the city government has also scheduled a drive-through booster shot vaccination for delivery riders on Thursday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Cartilla ng Katipunan in Lawton, just beside the Manila City Hall. It will be dedicated for delivery workers from Grab, Angkas, Lalamove, Shopee, Lazada, Foodpanda, Mr. Speedy, and other riders using motorcycles. Dumagoso said all COVID-19 vaccine brands will be available on both sides. He appealed to these workers to seize the opportunity and have themselves boosted against COVID-19 for extra protection.
Thank you very much, Shirlene, for keeping me company today here on ASEAN in Focus.
Thank you so much, Alma. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. Thank you for joining us here today in ASEAN in Focus. This is Charlene Navaja from your Thailand Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you very much, Shirlene. And we'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same place. Stay in the news because we live in interesting times.
Dito sa Real Quezon, totoong-totoo at real na real ang magagandang destinasyon at iba't ibang activities na pwedeng subukan gaya ng river rafting at surfing. Sabay-sabay din tayong ma-fall in love sa magagandang waterfalls for real na matatagpuan dito sa Real Quezon. Kaya tara, ating pasyalan!
Maraming salamat po, kapatid na Eduardo B. Manalo.
Maraming salamat po sa kapatid na Eduardo B. Manalo.
Maraming salamat po, kapatid na Eduardo B. Manalo.
Karamiwan na kami po'y hinahamak at tinataboy. Pero buong puso niyo kaming tinanggap at kinupkop. Kung dati, kung saan kami naninirahan, ngayon may permanente na kaming tirahan.
Maraming salamat sa kabuhayang pinagkaloob niyo. Hindi na po kami mangangamba sa aming kinabukasan.
Maraming salamat po sa pagbibigay ng edukasyon sa amin upang matupad na ang aming mga pangarap.
Mahal na mahal po namin kayo.
Sa kabila ng patuloy na pagbaba ng alert level sa Metro Manila,
sa gitna ng kabi-kabilang paalala sa mga magulang o guardian
Matapos ang maghapong paghihintay,
mas matalas na pagtingin sa mga nangungunang balita.
Magdodoble kayo daw ngayon ang senador para ipakilala.
Tiniyak ng mga opisyal na mayroon silang sapat na supply ng bakuna na standby.
Magmamatyag at magiging mapanuri.
Maaaring magpa-drug test ang sinuman sa alinmang mga testing center.
Sa kaliwat ka ng batikos ng kanyang mga kritiko.
Mata ng Agila. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 8 ng gabi. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Kahit na mahal kita, kailangan ko ring magtira. Di masamang palayain ka.